my goal is to take what we're kind of talking about here, the recording of it, and also throw this onto the article as well, so viewers can also see it. Um, so it sounds like, from y'all's opinion, rest days absolutely critical. Taper days before, especially depending on the intensity of the workout that you're doing, right? If you're doing very high intensity workouts, rest days during those weeks of working out, highly critical to making sure that you can come back each week and be able to perform each week and actually truly continue with that performance that you're expecting to go into race weeks. And then obviously tapers during weeks, typically important, especially if you are pulling out those kind of high intensity workouts. On those sort of rest days, one kind of question I do have is, what kind of advice do y'all have on those rest days that people will probably take, especially if they have put in these kind of high workouts? Would you recommend or do you recommend any kind of like active recovery on those rest days, like yoga, going for a walk in the park, things like that? What kind of things do y'all recommend on those kind of rest days?
Yeah, personally, I don't put a lot of restraint on an active recovery day. Um, Usually it's nervous energy. It's like people that I work with, they just don't know how to take a day off. And it freaks them out if they're 24 hours without exercise and they start to lose their shit. So I tell them, they say, hey, well, is it okay if I swim? So usually with the first thing that comes out of their mouth in respect to what their option would be, I let them go with it. So I'm going to go swim. I'm going to do a little cross country skiing. I'm going to take it really easy. All right, fine. Whatever you're going to do, but just keep in mind that it's a recovery day. You're not going to take on more stress, because we want to be able to come out of this hole and come out of it ahead. And kind of referring back to the super compensation model I mentioned, you should always have planned regression in your training. Forget about taper. You should always schedule time off in your training in order to allow your body to recover, because you don't get better while you work, you get better while you rest. You eliminate the rest component from your training, you could expect to have a bad time.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. The only we talked about earlier is I get somewhat nervous, especially for the real high level athletes that have a big A race coming. Is I'm not a fan of them going to do something they've never done before. Even something like yoga, if they're not used to doing yoga, you know how yoga can be. If you go into your first yoga session that week, that can be a effing disaster. Your Saturday could be the worst you've ever had in your life. I mentioned racquetball. I had a client that he picked up racquetball on his recovery, and it's like, man, his body was just wrecked. And so, yeah, as long as you're not picking up something new, I'm the same as Richard, man. Let yourself burn off some of that nervous energy.
Yeah, don't go bouldering some of the hard routes and bouldering the day before a race or something like that.
Then your forearms are all jacked up.
All right, I think that's the majority of the questions that we kind of had for everything. So thank you guys for your time, everything else like this, and your wisdom and all the knowledge that you guys bring to the sport and your coaching and everything else that y'all do.
So, keep us posted on when this is going to go up so we know to look for it.
Absolutely, will do.